doesn't know about this, so I'm talking kind of quiet. I'm going to put this stuff on my hands really quickly, all over it. It looks kind of like lotion. Okay, I'm going to rub my hands together really good. And then when my family comes down today, every time I talk about Jesus with them, I'm going to touch them, and we're going to see what happens when you tell someone about Jesus, how it can spread, and they can tell other people about Jesus. So we'll check back in a little bit. Hi everyone, welcome back to another week of EP Kids Digital. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button below, and we'd love to have you like this video. I want you to think for just a minute about what the word bonkers means. Think of something that you think is bonkers or crazy and shout it out to the people around you at home. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of different bonkers things, but I wonder, did anybody say the love of Jesus? Because quite honestly, Jesus is over the top, bonkers, crazy in love with you and with me and with everybody in the entire world. And that's super good news, isn't it? You know, speaking of good news, have you ever received any news that was so amazing that you could not help telling someone else? Maybe you found out your family was going to Disney World, or you were getting a new puppy. In fact, those of you who go to East Park probably remember back when I heard that we were getting our puppy, and how every single week around Christmas time, I would tell you how many more days it was and how excited I was. And here's a new picture of my puppy, because I wanted each and every one of you to get to share in the good news that I was experiencing. You know what? Those good news stories remind me of our story for today. But before we start, I'm going to put some questions up on the screen. And while I'm telling you the story, I want you to be thinking about these questions. Why do you think Paul wanted to tell so many people about Jesus? What do you think that this story teaches us about God? And why do you think Paul was willing to risk his life to tell other people about Jesus? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Last week, we heard about how Paul met Jesus on the road to Damascus and how he started a relationship with Jesus. And you can check it out in the video from last week. But after Paul heard about Jesus, he could not help himself. He told everyone he could find about Jesus. He would see a group of people over there and he would run over to them and he would say, "You've got to know about Jesus." And then he would run over here and he'd see another group of people and he'd say, "Jesus is God's son, I've got to tell you about him." And then he'd run over there and he'd tell another group of people, and he just kept telling person after person after person, and people were thoroughly amazed. Here was this man who used to kill Christians, who was now saying, "Jesus is the way, go follow him, let me tell you about him." There were some people, however, who were not so impressed. The Jewish leaders were not impressed at all. In fact, they still didn't believe that Jesus was God's son. And so they were getting really angry at Paul for telling everybody that he was. So they came up with a super evil plan. They snuck around the wall of the city, because Damascus had a big wall around it, and they made their way to each of the gates, and they positioned themselves at the gates, and they were watching for Paul, because their plan was when he left the city and went through that gate, they were going to grab him and they were going to kill him. Well, luckily Paul finds out about this plan ahead of time, and he's got to figure out how he can get out of the city without being killed. Well, some of the people who Paul had told about Jesus and who had become followers of Jesus came up with a plan. They took Paul up on the wall of the city, and they got a great big basket and a huge rope, and they put Paul in the basket, and they lowered Paul down the side of the wall till he was on the ground outside. And then Paul left, and later Paul went to Jerusalem. Now, you would think at this point, after having been almost killed for telling people about Jesus, that Paul might not be so interested in telling people about Jesus anymore, but not Paul. Paul was still 100% certain that Jesus was God's son and that he wanted everyone to know this good news. So he's telling people about it. Well, when he gets to Jerusalem, the people there were pretty scared of him because that's where Paul had started. And when he was there the last time, he was killing every Christian he could find. So Jesus's disciples were really scared of him, and they didn't really believe that he had changed. But Paul had a friend, and his friend went with him to meet with the disciples, and he said, hey guys, look, no, this Paul, he really did meet Jesus on the road to Damascus, and he really is a follower of Jesus now. And so they welcomed him in, and he lived there with them for a while. But he continued to have this crazy, courageous way of sharing his faith. Why do you think that was? Why was he so sure, and why was he so confident that even when people tried to kill him, he was willing to keep sharing? Well, you know what? It was because he had God's Holy Spirit living in him. When you start a relationship with Jesus, God sends his Spirit to live inside of you. And the Holy Spirit guides the followers of Jesus, and he gives them courage, the courage to boldly go and share about Jesus with other people. In fact, that's what our verse for this week tells us. If you look in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, it says, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. Then you will tell people about me in Jerusalem and in Judea and in Samaria, and you will even tell other people about me from one end of the earth to the other. The Bible tells us that when the Holy Spirit is in us, we're going to have God's power, and we can have courage to tell the people around us all about Jesus. And remember, a few weeks back, you can check it out, we talked about what happens when you tell one person about Jesus, what a big difference that can make. Now, I tried an experiment today, and we're going to see the results here, so stay tuned. Okay guys, I'm back, and I can talk loud now because I let my family in on the secret. I had all that lotion all over my hands. Can you see how absolutely covered they are when you look at them under black light? And I have taken, remember we said that was the love of Jesus and the good news about Jesus, and I've shared it with the rest of my family. So I just kind of want to see, like, I don't know on my face because I can't see the video right now, but I assume that there is some on my face. My girls are telling me yes. It's on my hands. I can see it on my shirt under the black light. So I'm going to have Eliana step into the camera now, and we're going to take a look and see if I manage to infect her with the love of Jesus. That was a pretty cool experiment. I want you guys to think really hard about how you can tell someone else about Jesus this week, even from home. And I want you to not just think about it. I want you to go and do it. So take a minute and check out these questions on the screen, and then maybe tell the person next to you who it is you're going to go tell about Jesus this week. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe you're going to send an email. Maybe a text. Maybe you're going to FaceTime them or Zoom call them. But do something this week to tell someone else about Jesus. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video down below. Thanks. Bye.